Hi, 703. I hope you had a very Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a wonderful New Year's tonight. So enough of that. This is your review for the Unit 2 exam, which will be Friday. Again, this is Unit 2. It is your study guide. A couple of things to keep in mind. In the beginning of the year, we created this chart where we had a fraction. We converted a fraction to a decimal, and we converted a decimal to a percent. So you just might want to refresh your skills. This comes in very handy in this unit. Let's take 3/4 as a fraction. If I want to convert 3/4 to a decimal, I simply divide 4 into 3. 4 goes into 3. It doesn't go, but I put my dot up here. 7 times 28. Remainder of 2, 75. So 3/4 written as a decimal is 0.75. And to write it as a percent, I simply multiply by 100, and I get the percent, which is 75%. I have a couple of worked examples there, but I'm just reminding you to refresh your memory on converting fractions to decimals to percents. So I have organized this into a couple of skills. Skill number 1. If I have a savings account that pays you money, that's what savings will do. And you need to figure out how much interest. Interest is the amount of money a bank pays you when you let them keep your money. So what I'm going to do when I'm finding my interest level is I take my principal or my deposit, and in this case it's $100. I multiply it by the interest rate, and if they tell me the interest rate is 2.5%, I have to convert that to 0.025, the decimal. And let's say I'm going to keep it at that bank for 4 years. So it's the principal times the interest times the number of times. So to make this really useful, please get out your calculator. And let's just make sure we know how to push this in. 100 times 0.025 times 4, enter. And my interest for 4 years is just going to be $10. That really doesn't sound like very much. But that would be my interest on a $100 investment at 2.5% for 4 years. If your final answer is simply 10. And again, if that's just looking for the interest amount. If they ask you to find the difference of two investments, you would just basically change whatever you need to change here, subtract that from the 10, and that would be the difference. It's either more or less one investment versus another. Okay, skill number 2. Skill number 2 is about discounts. We all know what a discount is. We all go to stores looking for them. A discount is the amount that a store will reduce the price of an item. For example, if a shirt has a 50% discount, that means it's going to be 50% off of what the listing price would be. So remember, go back to your chart and think about changing a fraction to a percent. So I know that 50% is going to change to 0.5. If I were changing it to a fraction, it would be 1/2. But in this case, I'm just going to find 50% off a shirt. If the shirt is $25 and it is 50% off, then I am going to multiply 25 times 0.5. And so my shirt is $12.50 off, but it also costs that, since that's obviously exactly half of 25. If you have to pay a tax on top of that amount, then you would take your $12.50, the amount that you're paying for the shirt, no need to put the 0. You're going to multiply it times the tax rate. Again, if the tax rate is 8%, that converts to 0.08, very important as a decimal, times 0.08. And again, let's try that calculation. So I have 12.5 times 0.08, enter. The tax of 8% on $12 is $1. So the tax is $1. So if they ask you for the total amount that you would pay, it would be 1, which is the tax, plus $12.50, which is the cost of a discounted shirt. The total amount would be $13.50. And again, that's if they ask for the discounted amount plus the tax. Okay, we're on to skill or concept 3. Concept 3 has to do with percent increases and percent decreases. So it's a percent increase or a percent decrease. And the only thing you need to remember for that is the formula that we learned in class. You take the original price, you subtract the new price, you divide it by the original price, and then you multiply by 100. So in this particular case, if I bought a candle for my mother for Christmas, and it was on sale for $10, and the original price was $25, the question wants to know what percent was the discount. I go back to my formula. I take the original price, which is $25. I subtract my new price, divide it by the original price, and multiply by 100. 15 divided by 25 times 100 will give me 0.6. 0.6 times 100 is 60%, or the total discount on that candle was 60%. And again, because it was off, it was a discount. So that is that use of that formula that we saw so many times in class. Concept 4, commissions. Now, what a commission is, many people who are in sales earn their salary, plus they earn some percent of what they sell. So a commission is a bonus amount you earn based on how well you do at your work, and that's generally in a sales job. You typically earn a fixed salary each week. That's some amount that isn't affected by how well or how poorly you do. And in this case, let's say you earn $100 a week. That's a pretty terrible job. Then you get a commission from the amount that you actually sold. So you get your $100 plus some amount that we need to calculate based on how well you did. So in our particular example, let's say you sold $500 worth of real estate. If you are a real estate agent, you sold $500 and your company gives you an 8% commission. So I take the $500 that I sold, 500. I again multiply it by 0.08. And then I add back the weekly amount of 100 because I get that whether or not I sell anything at all. So 500 times 0.08 is 40. So I get $40 in commissions. Plus, I get my weekly salary of $100. My total income for that particular week was $140. Okay, that's it on commissions. Basically, just another use of percent. Let's move on to concept 5. Concept 5 is when you have to handle an increase and a decrease. The number one rule for this is make each change in sequence. Don't try to lump them together. Make the change one after another just as whatever is happening in the problem happens. So, an example. If a bowling ball cost $200, it's an expensive bowling ball, I don't even know how much they cost, it was discounted, that means it was decreased, by 50%. And then it was increased by 40%. This is what you have to do. You take the original price, 200, you multiply it by 0.5, and I get 100. This is the discounted price of the bowling ball. I take the discounted price. I now have to multiply it by the 40%, so that's 0.4. I add a 1 because I have to pay for the ball plus the increase. So I take the $100 discounted times 1.4, and I get 140. And that is the new price of the bowling ball. And let me say, many, 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 many times, the answer is not, and even never, 50 minus 40 or 10%. Don't make this mistake. It's very typical to do so. Concept 6, working backwards on a discount. So let's say you paid $20 for a tie that was on sale from $40. The discount then is what I need to calculate. So $40 is the original price. $20 is what I paid. I divide that by the original price, so I get 20 over 40. 2 over 4 is 1/2, or 0.5. So the discount in this case is 50%. Concept 7. This is called mark up and mark down. That's basically how stores make profits. They mark up the price in order to make a profit. They mark down the price in order to induce you to purchase it. So on markup and mark down, a store marks up the price of an item to sell it for a profit. And a profit is obviously what a company makes when it sells things for more than it buys them for. So if a grocery store buys a case of milk for $20 and then they mark it up and resells it for 50% of its original value, a customer would buy that case of milk, if they bought the whole thing, at 20 times 1.5. And again, they have to pay for the entire case, the $1, plus the 0.5, which is the markup, or $30. So if you walked in and you wanted to buy that case of milk, you would no longer buy it at $20, you would be buying it at $30. A second part of this equation might be the customer has to pay a sales tax on top of the final price. So let's stick with this 8% sales tax. So if the sales tax is 8%, the final price to the customer is $30, which we just calculated, times 1.08, and on your calculator you should get $32.40, which is the final price that the customer pays. The very last concept is a show your work concept. It basically is everything that we have done, but you need to show your work and how you got there. It's not a multiple choice question. So show your work. It's not optional. Let's say that you get some data in a table, and so 10 tickets to this particular game cost $2, 20 tickets cost $40, 40 cost $55. Now I see something going on here. So these tickets are obviously discounted. It's not a proportional relationship because it changes. The more you buy, the cheaper the ticket becomes. So in this particular case, you also have a $20 shipping charge. I'm not sure how we're going to ship the tickets, but you have a shipping charge and you have a 6.8% tax. So if the question asks you, how much would 250 of these cards, we have tickets, so 250 tickets, how much would they cost? Then you have to go back to your table, 250, and you try to make it as cheaply as you possibly can. So I see that 100 cards is $80. So for 200, that's $160, 80 times 2. 40 tickets cost $55. So I have $160, $55, and then 10 more is $20. That's 235 tickets. Nope, that's 235 tickets. So if I calculated those out, I am going to get $271.58, and then I have to add the $20 shipping fee plus the tax to get $291.06. So once again, that was not 250 tickets, that was 235 tickets. Just have to add the number of